Okay, I'd like to show you, first of all, how to hold a pick and the basic picking technique to go through the open string exercises in the beginning of our book one. And I've got the capo on the fifth fret. And actually for the exercises, it doesn't matter because you're playing all open strings. So you're not fretting anything, but um, generally we're going to keep the capo at the fifth fret through most things. Now let me get close here. I'm using my laptop Zoom application, and the quality of sound isn't, especially with the guitar, when I pluck it, you'll hear it's not great quality, but it'll do for what we're trying to accomplish here. And I want to show you, first of all, how to hold a pick. Now, I should mention this is for single notes. So we're going to play like this. Let me get my volume up. And what we're going to do with the technique is we're going to plant the pick or prep the pick like for a beat before we pluck it. So you play, plant, play, plant, and that's going to be the warm-up technique. It's very slow, very relaxed, because we're just working on how to use a pick and how to hit one string at a time. All right, now, first of all, your index finger should curl up kind of like three sides of a square, like that. And then, now the first joint from the first knuckle down can be a little bit relaxed, but you want to match this first joint, knuckle to tip, with tip to knuckle of the thumb. And you can see how they're kind of matched, to where if I was on a flat surface, say like my cell phone here, I'm on a flat table, the thumb is flat with that joint of my finger, and they're enclosed over each other like that. Now, if I wiggle my thumb, the finger will kind of wiggle with it. Be really careful to match, kind of knuckle to tip, tip to knuckle, and not to have them crossed like way like that. That's not going to be good for holding a pick. You want to hold the pick specifically like that. And then what we do is we put the pick more on the side of the finger, not against the tip, but on the side of the finger, and enclose the thumb over top of that. Now you can see, let's see if I can try to avoid the shadows here. If you can see that the pick is pretty straight down from the thumb. So it's like the head of a hatchet or something, So the point of the pick is pretty straight down from the thumb. And I'm using, one of these typical heart-shaped picks. The center of the pick would match with about where that little crease where your nail comes out of your thumb. So that would be about the center of the pick. So there's a little thumb sticking out over the edge of the pick. You don't want the pick right up. You don't want the pick to stick out from the thumb, if I'm making myself clear here. And what we want to focus on is this wedge right here where the thumb and the pick cross. Now, I should mention, when we pluck the string, we use the front edge of the pick to actually pluck the string. Now, I'm holding it a little differently so you can see it. I'm not flat on the string. So if you play flat against the string, that's going to sound kind of nasally and just not very good tone. And you use the edge of the pick, and it's kind of like scraping with a scraping tool or a knife or something. So again, we cross the thumb and the pick cross. There's a front wedge, and we're going to catch that wedge. Like if my finger were a string, we're going to catch the wedge, if you can see it, right there in the string. Now, the thumb will rub the top of the string and it won't make any sound. And you say, well, why do we need the thumb to touch the string? What's the purpose of that? It's actually to give yourself a feeling of touch, like you're touching the string, because it's hard to feel through the plastic of the pick, you know, and you want the thumb to always make contact with the pick, again, right in that wedge where the thumb and the pick cross. So they kind of splay out, and there's a wedge right in the point of that wedge, and you want to catch it there. So you're making thumb contact at the very same time you're making pick contact, and the pick is behind the string to pluck it. The thumb is only rubbing, it's crossing over the top of the string. Sorry about hitting my laptop there. And then you pluck out like that. And it's kind of like a wrist motion, kind of a stirring motion, as if you were stirring a can of soup counterclockwise. So you flick out, around, and back. And you want to be very relaxed with your technique. And let me see if I can get the guitar up so it won't glare so much. And so I make contact, which is planting the pick. And so you play, plant, play, plant. And when you plant, you just come to a dead stop. And you want your hand to just kind of plop down on the string. It's like sort of a very passive kind of falling into the string. And it might make a little thud, you know, when you, because of the weight of your hand. Okay? And so if we're playing one string, we plant on that same string. Now it stops the sound of the note, but this is just a warm up. So we're learning how to use the pick. And we're not worried about how long the note rings or whether we stop it or not stop it. Now, when you change strings, like if I play this string twice, I'm going to plant on the next string that I'm going to. I'm going to play that twice and then plant back on the first string. Second string, kind of missed it there. Every now and then you'll miss the string. See? Now I'm going to go to the third string, plant on that. And when you change strings, it may not cut off the previous note. That's okay. We're not really trying to do that. Third string, second string, and then back to the first string. So every time you plant, you want to catch it right in that wedge at sort of catty corner. So the pick, you know, like, again, you don't want the pick to be flat on the string like that. You want it to be at about a 45-degree angle. You don't want it straight up and you don't want it flat, but halfway between straight up and flat. That's about a 45-degree angle. And when we pluck more toward the bridge. We don't pluck straight down like that. We pluck more that way, like it's like an airplane taking off of a runway. You go out and around. And learn to plant, because that'll help you reinforce that you're finding the string. Plus it's relaxed. You just stop, come to a dead stop. So you're not constantly moving, you know. We want to be in total control, and you want to learn to judge the distances when you're changing strings by feel. And you may have to look at what you're doing. It's okay to look, you know. I'm not one of these teachers that says don't look at your hands, because when you're first learning a technique, how do you know if you're doing it right if you don't look at it? So it's good actually to memorize these exercises, get to know them so well. And if you do them every day, you'll know them. You won't even have to look at the page so much. But it's also good to look at the page until you get to know the exercise. But you can do a little of both, you know, look at the page and then look at your hands. And so anyway, I'm going to go through number 1 of the first string warm-ups. And we're just playing to the 3rd string and back 4 times on each string. So it's first string 4 times. 1, plant. 2, plant. 3, plant. 4, plant on the next string. 2, always catch it right in that wedge. It's like catching a baseball in the pocket of your baseball glove. You're catching it the same way every time. See? So, excuse me, my throat's getting a little dry. So I'm going to play it again. And this time I'm not going to talk so much. Just watch how relaxed I'm playing, kind of going just, again, like stirring a can of paint or soup, whichever you like. And just going around and plopping back down on the string. And you might even just practice lifting up your pick and plopping down and planting without even playing anything. You know, just catch it right in that wedge, right in the point of that wedge. And the thumb is rubbing the top. The thumb doesn't make any sound. See? It's just, it's kind of like you're polishing the string with a leather strap, you know, and it gives yourself, it will give your hand a sense of security that, yes, I found the string, I can feel it with my thumb. So that's the reason we're having the thumb over top of the string and the pick is behind the string plucking it. And we're doing what we call free strokes, which go out freely into the air. There's another stroke called a rest stroke, where you pluck one string and then the pick goes directly resting on the very next string. And we're not going to do that right now. We're doing free strokes. So we go out, it's like an airplane taking off. It doesn't just jump straight in the air, it goes the length of the runway. So you go the length of the string a little bit. It's good to stroke your string. It's like petting your cat, you know. You wouldn't pet a cat like that, right? You would stroke the fur, kind of like stroke out that way. So you're catching it in the wedge, right in the wedge, and going out like that. Now, if you find you're hitting 2 strings accidentally, then you've got to watch the angle. Make sure you, again, go the length of the string a little bit, and it's like a rocket taking off. You just don't want to include the next string. And you can play around with that. You might find that that it, you know, at first it's real easy to hit, you know, 2 strings instead of 1 string. And then sometimes you do want to hit 2 strings, but not with these exercises. So just work with it, play with it, get comfortable with this positioning of the pick. And also make sure your arm is more over top of the guitar. And I should have mentioned that earlier on. And it's like your hand is just totally relaxed, dropped down from the wrist. It's good to just maybe lift your hand from the wrist slowly and then just let it go limp, you know, kind of let it drop. And that's, you want to incorporate the weight of your hand as part of the stroke eventually, as you get more control, and it's much more relaxed that way. So anyway, we're going to do number 1 And it's 4 times, and then we change. We're going to do it again. Okay, ready, go, try it with me. 1, plant, 2, plant, 3, plant, 4, plant on the next string. 1, 2, 3. When you change strings, the previous string might still be ringing. That's okay. 2, 3, 4. Back to the second string. 2, 3, 4. And then you can repeat the whole exercise or just end it. I just ended it there. Now, number 2, you're doing twice on each string. So we're changing strings a little more often. It's like this. 2 times, next string. Second string, back to the first. Third string, back to the second. I can't think of when I've had more fun. This can be a little tedious, and some other people in your household might think you're going crazy, but that's okay. You know, musicians can be a little bit crazy. So now we're doing number 3, and that starts kind of like number 2, twice on each string, but we're going to go to the third string sooner, and then we're going to do once on each string. So it's ready, go, number 3. Plant, play, plant on the next string, plant on the third string, back to the second, and then once each, first string, plant on the second, second string, plant on the third, back to the first string, second, third, okay? So that's the first 3 exercises. On the next page, you've got 4th, 5th, and 6th strings. So you do the 4th string, it's a lot like number 1 on the first strings. And then you do 4 times on the 5th string, play, plant, play, plant, and then the 6th string, always catching it in that wedge and slice the string a little bit. On the wound strings, you might get this kind of, you know, scrapey sound. Don't worry about that so much. On different guitars, it's going to be more pronounced. On this electric guitar here, the strings are kind of old, so they're not real bright, and you don't hear it as much. But you can learn not to get that scrapey sound. But don't let that, don't focus on that, because basically you want to still slice the string even if you're getting a scrapey sound. And don't worry about it, because we're just really worried about playing the right string with a relaxed kind of slice to the note. And there's 6 open string exercises. It'll, you know, once you get to know them pretty well, you should be able to go through all 6 and maybe even repeat them 2 or 3 times each within about 5 or 6 minutes, I would think. You know, don't rush through them. Don't go any faster than this. You don't want to just, you know, rush through them. And a lot of people have trouble with the planting, because instinctively you might want to pluck the string as soon as the pick touches it, but learn to stop, go, stop, play, plant, play. Just get a rhythm to where your planting has a rhythm just like your plucking does. And there's like, it's like hitting a drum. Hit the drum, play, hit the drum, and just don't be in a hurry. These will not help you if you're in a hurry. I know they're a little bit boring, you know, they're not real exciting to play. So, and you know, if it's early in the morning, you might find yourself dozing off, you know, but if you do, get up and walk around the room a little bit and try it again. But you want to just be very relaxed. We're learning accuracy and a relaxed technique that works. There's other ways of plucking the string besides this, but this is a good way that works. And it's, you know, catching it right in there. It's a lot like with classical guitar, you'll catch the string right at the edge of the nail where the nail meets the flesh. And that's sort of what we're doing here with the pick. We're catching the string where the thumb meets the pick, where the pick meets the flesh, and catching it very accurately and then in a very relaxed way. It's like rolling off a log. Shouldn't be any effort at all. You know, you use a little bit of the weight of your hand and then flip it around. And don't be afraid to move a little bit flamboyantly, you know. As you go faster, you'll move less, but you'll still have that same flow from the wrist. So it's very important to focus from the wrist. Make sure your arm is in a good position where your hand is just sort of hanging down like that. So anyway, my throat's getting a little dry. Luckily, I didn't go into a coughing fit, but that's picking technique up close. You know, you just learn accuracy and habits form to where you're plucking the, you know, in a very good way. I'm not going to say the right way because there are other ways that are right for other people, but it's a very good way that works for beginners. And later when we strum chords, we will hold the pick more at the top of the pick, and the pick will kind of wiggle kind of loosely, and it'll ripple on the strings like, see? But I'm holding it more at the top, not to where I'll drop it, but it's kind of brushy. That's a lot different than the technique I just showed you today, which is for single note playing, like scales. I'm doing down and up strokes. In this book, we're going to do all down strokes, just to keep things simple, because you'll be focusing on rhythm and the rhythm of the notes, and the down and up strokes can make things complicated. In the second book, we'll get into down and up strokes, but so I'm playing a major scale. You can see what my left hand is doing. When we're playing real music, not exercises, we don't do the planting normally. So the planting I want to emphasize is just for these open string warm-ups. When we're doing the riffs later on, we're not going to plant between every note like that. You know, you can if you want, you know, for a while, but when we get into eighth notes, you don't have time to plant in between every note. So you have to let go of it, you know, for faster to connect sounds. Because when we plant, it's kind of choppy sounding. But we're not worried about the sound right now. We're worried about just accuracy and finding the string. So the planting reinforces, yes, I found the string, I'm going to play it. I'm catching the string, playing it. It's like you're catching it, you know, like that, okay? So I want to explain things as many ways as I can, just to make sure that you understand what we're going for with these warm-ups, because they're really easy to play but you don't want to just kind of rush through them. You want to really take your time and focus, think about your right hand when you're playing, you know, and then eventually it just becomes a habit and you do it second nature. And that's what technique is all about. You want, at first, it's going to be kind of like riding a bike. It doesn't feel right. And then you internalize the technique and it's much more relaxed, feels a lot better. Okay? So have fun with that. Don't get too bored. Don't rush through them. Take your time. Work on the technique. And we're just doing the right hand. So we don't have to worry about this hand right now. Okay. All right. Talk to you later. Let me get out of this Zoom thing. It takes a while. Okay. All right. Here we go. Talk to you later.